Hi everyone, this is round 1 of Perth Chess Academy, term 4, 2018, played on the 13th of October. Jacob versus Zachary. Jacob was white, Zachary was black. Let's get into it. Okay, so e4, d5, the Scandinavian defense. It's a decent opening here. Knight c3, so black's queen is exposed, but yeah, black is okay. Now, there's quite a few options here. I actually am a fan of queen a5. I think the queen is quite well posted on a5, and it guards the entire fifth rank. And once this d pawn moves, the pin on the knight can be very useful. Queen d8 is what was played in the game, which is also an okay move. I think queen a5 is a little better. I've seen some players play moves like queen d6, and apparently that's theory and it's playable, but I don't know anything about the line, so I'm not going to even try and offer any advice on that. So queen d8, d4, and I mean white's doing okay. I think if black really wants to make this opening a bit better, the queen should be on a5. So knight c6. This just doesn't look right. I mean, I much prefer to reserve the c6 square for the knight. See, what's happened in the opening is black has lost time. He's gotten behind in development. His queen came out and then it got attacked, and white gained a free move as a result. And if you lose time like that, you got to try and keep the position closed. And the main way that white's going to try and open this is by marching this d pawn further up the board. Wow, okay, that's obviously not going to happen. So I really want to see a pawn on c6, to be honest. I want to see this pawn on c6, this bishop come out here somewhere, either here or here, and this pawn on e6. And what you do is you end up with a fluid center. Let me just show you by going to the queen a5 line, so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. After d4, you've got moves like c6, or you can bring the bishop out or the knight out first. C6 straight away is also okay. And the idea is to go for this sort of setup with the bishop here, the bishop on c4 and e6. And you end up with a center which is fluid. In other words, it could close, it could open. We actually don't know what's happening with the center. But because the main breakthrough, d5, isn't possible with two pawns, 1, 2, both guarding d5, black can sort of treat it like a closed center, and the fact that he's like 2 tempos down in development isn't so much an issue, because there's no way for white to push the advantage, to break it open. And the idea is to answer moves like bishop d2 with a move like queen c7, get it out of the line of this discovered attack. The queen just sits here, and even though black gets behind in development, white can't open it up. If white wants to open the center up with a d5 advance, he has to get his bishop out of the way, he has to get his knight out of the way, and eventually play c4 and then d5. So, and it comes down right down to the very starting point here, where white has said, "Oh, free move," and gone knight c3 hitting the queen. By playing queen d8, queen a5, and then setting up both pawns guarding d5, black is kind of saying, well, you've gained a move now right at the very start, but because you can't get your breakthrough d5 in, and you're going to have to waste time moving this knight, I'm going to catch up on development later on, because this knight's going to have to move in order for this pawn to get to c4 and this pawn on d4 in order to go d5 and break open the center. So sure, you gain time right now, but because of the way I'm going to set my pieces up, you can't take advantage of that extra time. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let's just get straight back to the game. d4, knight c6, and I do not like that at all. I think an immediate d5 by white is very difficult to deal with. I mean, where does the knight go? It just looks like this knight's going to get chased around quite a bit. It obviously doesn't want to go out to a5, because I think you just lose it straight away, don't you, to b4? Just knight's trapped. I don't think you want to go to b4, because after a3, knight here, the knight's on a very terrible square. In fact, white can just double black's pawns, just wreck the queenside pawn structure straight away. Or just play something like b4 and keep this knight passive for a long time. The knight can't go to b4, can't go to c5. Or just say, look, you're going to have to waste time bringing this knight back into the game. And even if it does get to c5, I'm just going to hit it straight away. I'm just going to hit it straight away with b4 and send it straight back to where it came from. So yeah, the only other place it can go, apart from straight back home again, which is probably the best move, strangely enough, is knight e5. And yeah, this knight looks very exposed. Looks like there might be a bunch of queen moves by white that can make that knight very uncomfortably placed. Maybe black can get away with this, but in general, yeah, you don't want to expose your knight like this and let your opponent just get an advanced center pawn for free. Yeah, knight c6 I don't like. White did not take advantage of it. White went knight f3, which gives black the time to play e6 and stop this d5 advance. I think white missed an opportunity there. d5 needed to be played. Now, bishop b5. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Black should probably just get his kingside developed as quickly as possible. He went bishop d7. Yeah, it's okay. Castles. Now, bishop d6. Usually knights before bishops is the general rule. This bishop isn't really sure where it wants to sit. On d6 it looks a tiny bit exposed to moves like knight e4, forcing the bishop to move away, or unless he's willing to give up his bishop for the knight. This bishop isn't sure where it wants to be, whether it's going to be on b4, d6 or e7 yet. So generally the knight is always going here. I don't think it's going to go anywhere else. It's definitely going to f6. In some cases it might jump onto e7, but I think here that it's not one of those cases. The knight's definitely going to f6. The bishop doesn't know where it's going yet. So knight out first. Bishop here, and then bishop e3. Yeah, I don't like the bishop there. It's just a giant pawn, pawn chain. I think maybe just throw the rook on the e-file straight away would be a bit better, because you're threatening to just immediately go d5, and then you're forcing this knight onto e7 where it probably doesn't want to be, and then this bishop is uncomfortably placed. So for example, knight ge7, if that was played here, you've got to move like knight e4, which makes allows you to trade the knight for the bishop and gives white the two bishops. Two bishops are going to be very strong later on, as long as he doesn't let this one get swapped off. And of course, a move like bishop b4 just allows c3, and this bishop gets chased back into nowhere land. Okay, bishop e3, I don't like it. I'd prefer to save it for the pin for when the knight goes to f6. And it blocks the e-file, so white can't threaten to just go immediately rook e1, d5. He can't threaten this anymore. I think it's a bit passive and gives black a bit too much freedom. Now black goes, what? Okay, before we get into the craziness of that ridiculous move, knight f6 just looks like a pretty sensible move to me. Just get the knight out, it guards d5, get ready to castle. And black is okay, I think. A bit unhappy with the knight sitting on c6. You can't get a quick c5 in to attack the center, but black should be okay. Okay, this, yeah, I don't understand this move at all. This just looks like it loses. Yeah, just about area. There's like 4 different moves here for white that just win a piece. I mean, I think the idea was, discovered attack on the bishop, but yeah, it just doesn't work. The bishop's defended by the knight. White can play knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, or he can throw in the Zwischenzug, the in-between move, bishop takes, bishop check, and then grab the knight. And in all these lines, black has just lost a whole piece. And this is move 8 of the game, and this is 60 minutes on the clock. So a little bit of calculation, just seeing 2 moves ahead. Black should really not, should really have been able to work that out and say, oh, I'm losing a piece, I better not do this. It's pretty careless. So yeah, let's just go a bit further. Bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, and this game it's already over. There's not much more to it. black just threw away a piece. So there's a bit to learn in the opening there about how to play the position and not letting your opponent get an advanced d-pawn. But once you've thrown a piece away like this, the game's over. I'll just quickly go through the rest of the moves. Now, with the bishop on d4, the threat is bishop here, trapping and winning a rook. So a move like knight f6 or f6 is absolutely required here. And black played neither of those. Black castled long, which just let white just take this pawn, and then yeah, after knight here, knight there. Oh, I don't like that one at all. That gives white a choice. Take the rook or take the knight. If you take the rook, you win the exchange. If you take the knight, you win a whole piece. So obviously taking the knight is better. Knight e7 is clearly a much better move here. But yeah, knight h6 just gave white an extra choice. Now white chose wrong. White should have taken the knight. I mean, obviously grabbing 3 whole points of material is better than only gaining 2 points of material. And it just leaves you there's no material, there's no imbalance in the position. You're just basically 2 pieces up, 2 knights up, and it's just an easy win. Taking the rook, it kind of, I mean, it just leaves you a whole rook up, doesn't it? But with this bishop pointing at your king, maybe black's going to get a bit of counterplay. Doesn't really matter. Okay, queen d4. Okay, queen 4, hitting the rook and the pawn. Rook g8. You know, starting to use this half-open file, attacking the king. The queen ran in and grabbed this pawn here. Black has to be a little bit careful how he plays this. But he has got rook, knight, bishop, and queen that can all assault this king. He can put a bit of pressure on white. He just has to deal with this obviously mate in 1 threat that's going on right now. And maybe a move like queen c6 is the way to go here, because it frees up the d7 square for the king. You don't have to worry about the skewer. The rook is actually defended by the knight. But this just introduces the idea of queen takes f3, and of course the pawn can't take it back because it's pinned by the rook. But instead, black has played king d8, and yeah, unfortunately, white can probably just take this this b7 pawn now, and the queen defends the king from long range, defends the knight, and it stops this queen getting active on this diagonal. So I really don't like this king d8 move. I think queen c6 was the way to go. Now, white did not take the b7 pawn. White just simply played rook a d1, which is fair enough, pinning the bishop to the queen. But it does give black the option of playing queen c6, defending the b7 pawn, hopping on this diagonal, and threatening stuff on this knight. So it gives black the opportunity to get a bit of activity, to get his pieces into scary positions. You get the queen on this diagonal, the bishop on this diagonal, the rook on the half-open file. You can sort of see black's pieces are coming together. And then there's like knight g4 ideas. The idea of like taking on h2, and if the knight takes it back, queen takes g2 mate. Also knight f5 becomes a potential sort of move as well that needs to be dealt with. So white is sort of making it hard for himself by giving black counterplay. Luckily for him, black did not put his queen on that amazing c6 square and instead played f6. And now knight e4. Can queen c6 still be played? No, it's asking to lose horribly. Yeah, there's not much that can be done here. Queen g7 was what was played, trying to get the quick mate on down on g2. So you know, this half-open file has given black a bit of play. Here, g3 was simply played, which just means that black has to reorganize his position or get some of these pawns up the board to try and batter this down. f5, and that's what black's doing. Yeah, unfortunately, black's just too much material down, and this king is just too exposed. So after knight takes, king e7, yeah, I think taking is really bad. What happens if he takes? You know, obviously, it's going to be rook takes. And the king, yeah, the king actually doesn't have anywhere to go. What if it goes to e7? The thing I'm looking at, I should explain my thought process rather than just analyzing it silently, is that once the queen takes here with check and the king comes out, it's exposed and, you know, vulnerable to this rook check. And the combination of the queen, rook, and knight should surely, and these pawns should surely lead to a forced mate somehow. You know, king c5, just chucking off random checks. I'm not really putting much thought into these. It does look like this king is about to get mated pretty badly. And then you got rook b1 check, and then yeah, the king has to move. If it goes there, you've got queen b5 mate. If it goes here, you've got queen there mate. Yeah, so yeah, the exposed king is a problem. Yeah, okay, so what was played was king e7, didn't take the knight, probably sensible, and gives black the only chance for him to try and get into this game. I think the idea is to play f4, take here, maybe play knight f5, sack, take, and then try and pull off some sort of perpetual check on this king. It's probably black's only chance here. King e7. So yeah, well done to black, keeping his chances of saving the game alive. Jacob's not going to fall for any of this stuff, I hope. Okay, queen c5. That's sneaky. I like that a lot. Threatens to take this pawn and threatens to discover check. And if he takes the knight, which he did, then yeah, taking with the rook, really strong. This is good stuff from white. Threatening some very threatening. You know, the rook can just move anywhere with discovered check, and it puts black into a really tricky position. So he's gone and played king f6. I don't think that solves anything. I think it allows queen e5 check, swapping the queens, and then black is doomed. And why does my screen just do something weird like that? Okay, he's played queen d4 check, which is effectively the same thing. King ran back to e7. Oh, yuck. No, yuck. Surely the king has to go to g6. Oh, if it goes to g6, you get mated. Okay, it's game over no matter what. Yeah, okay. I said yuck to king e7, but there really was no other choice. So here it's just a very simple rook d7 wins the queen, and white missed it. White was too eager to swap these queens off and have a safe, easily winning ending. He just missed the chance to win even easier. It's a pretty simple tactic, skewer. Can't believe he missed that, actually. Okay, queen takes g7, or maybe he didn't miss it and he's just messing with black and just enjoying the endgame. I don't know. Rook fd1, king f6, rook b6. The rest of these moves are kind of irrelevant. When you're a whole rook down, there's not much you can do about it. Swap, takes. Yeah, we'll just race through these. I don't think it matters really. Game's over. It's mate in 2. What? Queen there? Why not queen there? And then mate on b8. What? I mean, it doesn't matter, but yeah, a bit surprised by that. And then plays the same mate anyway. What? Okay, yeah, well done to white. Not really much in the way of mistakes from white there. A few things there that could be better done next time. Black was the one who made most of the errors there. And, you know, I mean, aside from the positional errors, which didn't turn out to be all that important, I think white could have capitalized on them a bit better by playing that early d5. Yeah, it was all basically that knight takes d4. I mean, that's just crazy. This is just insane. This just it just throws the game away instantly. No good chess player is going to lose after you throw away a knight like that. And then afterwards, missing the bishop takes the pawn and grabbing something was also bad. So throw away a piece and then immediately threw away the exchange. And instead of, yeah, and that was it. That's where the game ended. All the positional stuff is irrelevant if you're just going to throw away free material. Okay, that's about it. Hope everyone enjoyed that and learned something. See you later.